Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Drachmus. Today I come to you in Immortal Gates of Pyre, a pre-alpha game currently in development from Sunspear Games Studios. Today I'm going to bring you a little showcasing. For those of you who haven't seen or heard, there are currently two factions in the game. There's Qrath and the Aru. The Qrath are like sci-fi angels. They're living bodies of armor that are animated by their power, is how I interpret it. And the Aru are like, imagine blood witches mixed with trents. Walking trees of rage. But today we are going to go to Qrath. We're going to go with Orzum. He's probably the strongest immortal. That's what they are called. They're the generals of the armies. There's Orzum, Ajari, Mala, and Sol. But today we're going to be going with Orzum. His powers are the strongest, and his army is the most complete. Second only by Ajari. But Ajari still has more to come. So we are going with Orzum. I'm going to lock in. This is a solo game, so I can take my time going over the subject of this video. If you've read the title, it is learning the units. So let's begin. First of all, I'm going to do a little quick tutorial here. I'm going to hit the C button by default. I'm using all the default keys. I'm going to hit the E button hotkey for the Legion Hall. It's our main army production center. This gives us access to the Separi. I'm probably not remembering that correctly. But basically, frontline men. And these units are going to be used to basically be the meat of our army. If you've ever played StarCraft, the Separi are the zealots, the Zerglings, or the Marauders. They're definitely something. Now I'm going to build the Apostle of Binding. It's basically, if you're a StarCraft player, I'm going to be using StarCraft as an analogy for a lot of my things in this video, my examples. It's basically your gas extractor. But alright, we're going to make a few Separi. Zentari. The Immortal specific version of the Separi. Now, the production in this game can all be done at once. Imagine you had a barracks with a reactor on it, but this reactor, instead of giving you double production, gives you all the production. That's how these buildings start out. Alright, now you can see, if we zoom in on these units here, they got a shield and a sword. The sword's glowing when in hallowed ground, but stops glowing when you leave it. That's because the hallowed ground gives them a buff. It gives them a ranged ability. They can fire spiritual energy off of the swords when on this hallowed ground, this power field, if you will. Now, they look like front linemen, and that's because they are. These angels are very much so a front line unit. Now, I'm not macroing very well, but that's because I'm taking my time so that we can go over the game. Now, the next unit I'm going to make is going to be the Zephyr, a sort of not the greatest DPS in the world unit, but it can teleport, and en masse, it can be a terribly powerful adversary. I'm going to build a couple more of the Legion halls to ensure that we don't get supply blocked. But now we can hit the Z button. The Z button will automatically bring up any production structures that we have. When these buildings are completed, that means that when I hit Z again, they will also be selected. You can tell what's selected by the green ring around the building. But now we're going to make some Zephyrs automatically assigned to the W key. You can only make one right now because I am supply blocked. They cost 8 supply. They are not a cheap unit, but neither are the Zentari. The Zentari, the Zephyr, and the Magi, the Spellcaster 3rd unit, is quite a hefty supply. I'm also going to make some Magi as well. And this is actually going to lead into our first composition that I'll be going over in just a bit. Now, everything that you build out of these productions is automatically assigned to the D key. I select D, I can select the whole army automatically. I didn't have to assign it at all. It's doing it on its own. Just going to upgrade this structure really quick. We'll get more on that in a different video. But now we have a basic composition. And as you can see, these Zephyrs, now these are teleporters. See that? Wind Step is their teleportability. It allows them to sacrifice shields for repositioning. Now, of course, let's say you were in a hallowed ground area. Well, if we just wait a second, you see the little tick? That little movement on the bar represents the healing being done in the hallowed ground, which means when they teleport, see this glowing? They effectively do not lose any health when they're on hallowed ground teleporting. But when I do it outside, there it is. You see, damage was taken. They are very effective attacking units. They're skirmishers for the most part in small numbers. We're gonna go and show off their abilities here real quick. I'll bring the other bits of the army as well. But while that's happening, I'm gonna make a soul forge or soul foundry. This allows us to create some very fun units that we will get to in a bit. Now, as you can see, it is indeed a ranged unit that I can micro just like a stalker with blink. And then we can return to this tower and start healing ourselves up. Now the Magi are a support unit. You can actually see the role it plays right under its name. The Zephyr is called a generalist. I call them skirmishers. The Zentari are the brawlers or the meat shield of your army. The Magi are support, and the reason they are called support because they have an ability called deploy or mobilize, which is basically you hit the F key by default, and you get this little pop-up. Left click to deploy, right click to undeploy or mobilize. Engage. And you see this little ring? It is a mobile hallowed ground. So where you saw before, this ring is now extending past this tower. So if I do it, you can actually see it pretty much healed them. Because it is considered a mobile hallowed ground. Now, if I do this, right? I'm now deploying the other Magi just a bit west of that Magi. And as you can see, it has deployed another ring, extending the area. If done smart and intelligently, if placed very appropriately, you could create a whole massive area of hallowed ground. And because they are not hostile or aggressive units, the enemy army won't automatically target them. They're not even fighting. Now, of course, if you say wanted to redeploy these units, you select your army, you hit the hotkey for the Magi's ability, which is F by default, and right click to undeploy them. And boom. After a couple seconds, they're back in your hands. So what is this? What is this? What does this army look like in the field of battle? Well, we're playing solo right now, so there's no real answer for that. I could always recruit someone, but I don't really want to right now. Instead, I'll just use them to fight some creep. Now, as we can see, the fight is over, and we have won. The Zephyr's barely taking any damage, and the frontline troops, being the majority, the Centauri, took all the damage, really, except for this one Zephyr, who was unfortunately placed. Now, you might be asking, what happens if a Zephyr teleports in to a hallowed ground wall off of hallowed ground? So we're going to make sure it's a good, decent amount of way away from the hallowed ground, and let's try it. As you can see, teleporting in actually causes the Zephyr to heal completely. We're going to undeploy this unit really quick. And now we're going to head back to the main area. I'm going to hit the Z key to select all my production structures and right click right here so that all new units automatically go there. Now, we have a new unit available to us that wasn't here before. Before, we only had the Centauri, the Zephyr, and the Magi, but now 2 more have been unlocked. The Hallower, the Dervish, actually it's 4, the Absolver, and the Castigator. I'll go over each unit. I'm going to build each one. But let's go over each of these units. I'm going to separate them into little groups here. And I'll go over each one, starting from left to right. The Castigator. The Castigator is a very strong ground-to-air attacker. This unit fires a cannon, which unfortunately I can't demonstrate due to a lack of an air unit right now. But let's see if we can actually get it to shoot. There it is. As you can see, the cannon has that little effect. Now all of our other units are starting to get in on the action as I run back. Wonderful. And as you can see, the Hallowers are known as dislodgers. They're like siege units. That is, let's say an enemy was using this Absolver, right? The Absolver tag zone control. You would use the Hallower to dislodge them. Unfortunately, I can't make it attack the unit to demonstrate, but that's fine. We're going to take these Hallowers, and we're going to go, and I'm going to show you the range. Their range is absolutely ridiculous. Let's target that one, yeah? Look at that. All the way from back here it was able to fire. Now, they don't have the best firing speed, but they do tremendous damage. Three shots would take that thing out. Now, is that advantageous? You tell me. But they're not exactly meant for DPS. They are snipers, marksmen who take out the enemy very quickly. Now, let's move on, shall we? The Absolver. The Absolver is what is known as a zone control unit. It is a very high DPS unit when deployed. If it's not deployed, however, it's not that great. Now, when it's deployed, it looks like it has a couple frisbees or discus hula hoops spinning above its head. So let's do this. Let's grab a Centauri, and we'll use it to lure these Aru units into position for the Absolver to do its work. Alright, so just go hit it and run. As you can see, it has a high rate of fire and does decent damage too. Absolutely got rid of them, but that's just one. I'm sure you're wondering, what would it look like if there was multiple of these bad boys? And that is what I'm going to show you. I'll build 4 of them. While they're building, I'm going to go over the last advanced ground unit, and that is the Dervish. It's known as a Harrier. What's a Harrier? Basically, a harass unit. This unit is very quick, and we're going to go over to this Pyre really quick. It does a 360-degree attack, meaning everything gets hit. Look at that. But it's a glass cannon. As you can see, it's taking a lot of damage, but it nearly killed 2 of those insects. Now, we're going to have these 3 absolvers go and meet with this absolver. Let's undeploy it really quick. And now we're going to deploy right here. Now, normally you could just try to get a unit to annoy it, but actually, since we're close enough, I should be able to just target it. Look at the DPS on this. Just 2 exponentially increase the damage. Imagine what would have happened if all 4 were firing. So you may be asking, okay, Drac, but what does this mean exactly, right? What does this composition look like? Well, let's go over everything. There's many actual parts moving in this army now. It's a very high supply faction. A lot of moving bits and pieces. And so now we have quite a nice little front line of Zentari. We have the Hallowers for any sieging up units, and we have our own siege units as the Absolvers, which are really more of a zone control type thing. But maybe you're asking, I want to see what this fight would look like in real time. Well, let's engage this army, shall we? Gone within seconds. Now, of course, this is only on small bands of creepy units. This isn't a full-blown fight against an army, but I'm sure you can imagine the devastation. Now, this army is devastating to a ground army. This is an anti-ground army if there ever was one. But what about an air army? How could we judge what it would look like for an air army? Well, I will show you that in the next video. But for now, this is my ground unit and composition video, and I hope everyone has enjoyed. Thanks for watching.